Intro. The darkest big fat man story. What if Aaron Jackson never became the brother Nick Jackson needed? What if Aaron survived long enough to completely destroy the nation of Jackson? What if Nick's quest for revenge eventually grew into something much bigger than revenge? And what if, after everything Nick fought for, he actually won, only to lose everything anyway? This is Big Fat Man LXN-PAIN. Originally planned as a much shorter story, LXN-PAIN eventually expanded into a 16-chapter alternate timeline that became one of the darkest and most tragic stories in the Big Fat Man franchise. The story follows Nick Jackson through revenge, war, political revolution, supernatural battles, ancient Angel Clan history, and eventually a confrontation with Abaddon himself. But this isn't simply a story about who is stronger. It's a story about what happens when someone spends their entire life fighting for peace and discovers that peace can come at an unimaginable cost. So today, we're going through the entire Big Fat Man LXN-PAIN series, from the destruction of the Jackson family all the way to Nick Jackson becoming the prime above all. The premise. The timeline that changes everything to understand LXN-PAIN. We first need to understand what makes this timeline different from the main Big Fat Man continuity. The biggest change is Aaron Jackson. Aaron is Nick's brother. But in this timeline, Aaron becomes convinced that Nick is destined to become a vessel for Abaddon. Instead of simply waiting to see what happens, Aaron decides that the only way to prevent this future is to eliminate everyone around Nick. And that decision destroys the Jackson family. Nick's parents are killed, Sailor is killed, and Zephyr, who has feelings for Nick, attempts to defend him. Aaron believes that what he's doing is necessary, but Nick sees something completely different. He sees his own brother becoming the very monster he claims he is trying to prevent. Eventually, Zephyr dies defending Nick. Nick is left devastated. Master Seth rescues him, and the two escape the nation of Jackson. But this isn't the end of Nick's story. It's the beginning. Because Nick now has two goals: become strong enough to survive, and eventually confront Aaron. 2 years later, Aaron finds Nick again. Nick has destroyed his first Hyper Eye and prevented Abaddon from taking control of his body, but Aaron still doesn't trust him. Aaron has become the leader of the Forever Cult, and he wants to create what he calls the Forever Order. His philosophy is simple: peace through fear. If everyone fears the same ruler enough, Aaron believes nobody will ever start another war. Nick completely rejects this idea, and eventually, the brothers' conflict becomes unavoidable. Chapters 1 to 2. The End of Brotherhood. The first two chapters form the End of Brotherhood arc, and this is where Nick finally faces Aaron. Nick is now 17. He returns to the ruins of the nation of Jackson and finds Aaron waiting for him. Aaron has already destroyed what remains of their homeland. The confrontation isn't just physical, it's ideological. Aaron believes fear can create peace. Nick believes Aaron has destroyed everything peace was supposed to protect. And then the fight begins. Aaron reveals his Ultra Ever Eye, created with the help of Dr. Geo. Nick responds with his Hyper Eye. The two escalate the fight until both unleash massive energy avatars. Eventually, their final attacks collide. The resulting explosion destroys what remains of the nation of Jackson. Aaron believes he has won, but Nick has been waiting for an opening. Nick uses his speed and teleportation to attack Aaron from behind. And finally, Nick defeats his brother. Aaron's death ends their personal conflict, but it doesn't end the Forever Cult. Instead, a new enemy appears, a masked man named Kush. Kush reveals that he has been spying on the Forever Cult from within. He doesn't want to continue serving Aaron's organization. He wants to destroy it, and Nick agrees. This is the moment the story changes. Nick is no longer simply trying to avenge his family. Now he wants to erase Aaron's entire legacy. The Forever Cult Destruction Arc, chapters 3 through 8, make up the Forever Cult Destruction Arc, and this is where LXN-PAIN really begins to expand. Nick and Kush form an unlikely alliance, but Kush warns Nick that Aaron's death has created a power vacuum. The obvious successor is Andras. Andras becomes the new leader of the Forever Cult, and unlike Aaron, Andras has something even more dangerous: information. He knows how Nick fights. He knows about the Hyper Eye, and he eventually obtains two Ultra Ever Eyes based on Aaron's. Meanwhile, Nick's personality becomes noticeably colder. The author even explains that this version of Nick is intentionally different from the main LX version. In this timeline, Nick is much less forgiving. He's willing to go further because of everything he has already lost. But Nick soon discovers that power alone isn't enough. During his fight with Andras, Nick's hyper eye becomes unusable. He's weakened. Kush becomes his mentor. And this leads to one of the most important parts of Nick's development, his lightning training. Kush explains that there are 4 major lightning types. Normal lightning is the weakest. Red lightning is stronger. Golden lightning is stronger still. And black lightning is the most powerful of the 4, but also the most difficult to master. Nick begins developing golden lightning techniques. Eventually, he creates golden lightning, 10,000 daggers. But Nick wants something more. He wants black lightning. To reach that level, he undergoes an extremely dangerous training process that dramatically increases his stamina. The result is a massive power increase, but it comes with a permanent cost. Nick's lifespan is shortened, and this is an important theme of LXN-PAIN. Nick is constantly sacrificing part of himself to become strong enough to protect others. 11 o'clock to 14 o'clock. Nick hunts the Forever Cult narrator. Once Nick gains access to Black Lightning, he begins hunting the remaining Forever Cult members. First comes Valdis. Valdis specializes in explosives and believes his weapons can overwhelm Nick. But Nick has become much more tactical. Instead of simply overpowering every enemy, he studies their abilities and finds ways around them. Then Nick encounters Blake. Blake is extremely difficult to defeat because of his regenerative abilities. Nick eventually discovers that he doesn't necessarily have to destroy Blake's body. He can immobilize him. And then comes Amaya. Unlike many of the other Forever Cult members, Amaya doesn't seem particularly committed to the organization's ideology. She gives Nick the information he needs. Nick continues toward Andras. And eventually, he finds him. Andras is waiting inside an old temple. This sets up Chapter 8, Nick Jackson versus Andras. Deadly showdown. Andras reveals his 2 Ultra Ever eyes. He claims that the eyes make him stronger than Eren ever was. Nick is forced to fight without the Hyper Eye he once depended on. But Nick has something Andras doesn't expect, his new lightning abilities. The fight escalates through Golden Lightning, Black Lightning, and increasingly powerful techniques. Eventually, Nick defeats Andras. The Forever Cult is destroyed. Eren's organization is finally gone. But Nick's story isn't over, because now he has to figure out what comes next. The Hyper Blade Arc. After destroying the Forever Cult, Nick could simply walk away. Instead, he notices another problem. The world is still filled with corrupt governments and oppressive leaders. Nick wants something different for the future. He wants his eventual child to grow up without war. And this leads to the creation of Hyper Blade. The Hyper Blade arc is only 2 chapters long, but it completely changes Nick's role. He is no longer simply a warrior. He becomes a leader. Nick begins rallying nations against corrupt leadership. He helps establish new governments. He forms a national council, and eventually his movement expands beyond a single nation. The name Hyperblade comes from Nick's connection to the Hyper Eye and the weapon-like nature of his cause. But the important thing is that Nick isn't simply chasing power anymore. He's trying to build something, and then someone from his past returns. John Spring. Nick's godfather had been in hiding because of the Forever Cult. Now he returns and sees what Nick has accomplished. But Nick reveals something even more important. Zephyr has been revived, and she is pregnant. Nick is going to become a father. This gives Hyperblade a personal purpose. Nick doesn't just want to defeat corrupt leaders. He wants his child to inherit a peaceful world. The movement continues. More nations join. Corrupt leaders are removed, and eventually, Hyperblade succeeds. For the first time in years, Nick has something resembling the life he wanted. He has Zephyr, he is going to become a father, and the world is beginning to experience peace. But LXN-PAIN is nowhere near finished, because the story has been preparing something much bigger. The second half of LXN-PAIN introduces an entirely new layer of mythology. The story moves away from the Forever Cult and toward the Angel Clan. Nick encounters Isin, a young warrior connected to the ancient history of the Angel Clan, and eventually Elno explains the truth about Isin's father. His name was Enos. Inos was a warrior of the Angel Clan who lived thousands of years earlier, but his story isn't simply the story of a legendary warrior. It is connected directly to Abaddon. The Angel Clan had originally been peaceful guardians. They protected the Yang, half of the original Prime above all, but possessing that power gradually changed them. They became a conquering military force. This eventually led to conflict with the Sentinel gods and Abaddon. The war lasted for years, and Inos became one of the Angel Clan's greatest warriors. He could even use the legendary Dragon Merge form. The Dragon Merge dramatically increased his power. Eventually, Inos discovered that the Yang half needed to be protected. He sacrificed himself to seal it within the Sword of Armageddon. But Inos had a son, Isin, and Isin would eventually inherit his father's legacy. The problem is, Isin never even knew his father, until now. The story's next major antagonist is Arian. Arian was once the leader of the Angel Clan. Thousands of years earlier, he became corrupted and attempted to return the universe to nothingness. He was defeated, but he wasn't truly gone. Eventually, Arian returns, and he immediately proves that he isn't interested in negotiating. He manipulates people, he steals life force, and he wants the power of the Angel Clan for himself. Then Arian attacks Iris. Iris is Isin's girlfriend. Her death causes something inside Isin to awaken. Isin becomes the legendary ultra-white angel warrior. This is a major turning point. Isin has gone from being someone who doesn't even understand his father's legacy to becoming one of the most powerful warriors in the story. Nick watches this transformation happen, and for a moment, it seems like Isin might actually be able to defeat Arian. But Arian has another advantage. He can steal energy from others. He begins taking power from his enemies. The battle eventually becomes so destructive that Arian threatens to destroy the planet itself. Nick and the others manage to escape, but Arian follows them. And then something happens that changes the entire story. Someone else arrives. Someone Nick knows all too well. Abaddon. Abaddon was always intended to be the final antagonist of LXN-PAIN, and now we finally understand why. Abaddon has absorbed the Yang half of the original Prime above all. He declares himself the second Prime above all, and his plan isn't simply to conquer the universe. It's much stranger. Abaddon believes reality itself is the problem. He believes the universe is filled with suffering, disappointment, pain, and failure. So he creates a plan called the Infinite Earth Yuan 2 Dream Escape. His goal is to use the star of Betelgeuse to place every living being into a dream world. A perfect reality. A reality where everyone can have what they lost. A reality where people who died could seemingly exist again. From Abaddon's perspective, he's saving everyone. But Nick sees the problem. A perfect world that nobody chooses isn't truly peace. It's a prison. And then Abaddon accidentally kills Zephyr. He was attempting to eliminate Arian. Zephyr was simply caught in the attack. But the consequences are devastating. Nick loses Zephyr, and he loses his unborn daughter. The author specifically connects Nick's loss to Isin's earlier loss of Iris. Both characters lose the person they love because of the story's main antagonist. But Nick's loss is even greater because he loses both Zephyr and his unborn child. And this is where Nick finally becomes the character the title promised, the true Avenger. Abaddon tells Nick that he doesn't have to keep suffering. He tells Nick that Zephyr and his daughter can live again inside the dream world. All Nick has to do is give Abaddon the remaining portion of the Yang half. Nick refuses, because to Nick that dream isn't salvation, it's an illusion. And so the final battle begins. Nick's power evolves again. His hyper eyes transform. He gains incredible new abilities. Abaddon reaches his full power. The battle moves beyond ordinary space. Dimensions are destroyed. The scale of the conflict becomes essentially cosmic. But Nick has one final plan. He uses white lightning to manipulate gravity, and he targets the star of Betelgeuse itself. Nick realizes that destroying the star is the key to stopping Abaddon's plan. Abaddon tries to stop him. The two attacks collide. The star of Betelgeuse is destroyed, and the Yang half within Abaddon is absorbed into Nick. Abaddon is defeated, but Nick doesn't get the happy ending he wanted. The Yang half connects with Nick's soul, and then the truth is revealed. Nick was the reincarnation of the Yin half of the original Prime above all. With the Yang half now inside him, Nick transcends. He becomes the Prime above all, a divine being with limitless power. Nick finally reaches the absolute peak of his potential. But there's a problem. He has nothing left to protect. The universe has been left barren and lifeless because of the final battle. Nick has gained limitless power, but lost everyone he loved. The story ends with Nick seeing Lara, his daughter, in a white void. For the first time since Zephyr's death, Nick feels peace. And then the story ends. Big Fat Man LXN-PAIN. And that is the complete story of Big Fat Man LXN-PAIN. What began as a simple alternate timeline about Nick Jackson getting revenge against his brother eventually became a 16-chapter story about revenge, power, leadership, sacrifice, legacy, and the meaning of peace. Nick begins the story wanting revenge against Eren. Then he wants to destroy the Forever Cult. Then he creates Hyperblade because he wants to build a peaceful world. Then he becomes involved in the ancient history of the Angel Clan. And finally, he confronts Abaddon himself. But the irony is that Nick achieves almost everything he wanted and still loses everything. That's what makes LXN-PAIN different from the main Big Fat Man timeline. The author notes that the story was originally planned to be only 5 chapters, but the Forever Cult arc expanded the story and created connections to the main timeline. The ending, however, had been planned for much earlier, and that also explains one of the biggest differences between this universe and the main LX timeline. In the main timeline, Eren survives. And because Eren survives, the catastrophic chain of events that leads to LXN-PAIN's ending never happens. In LXN-PAIN, Eren dies. The Forever Cult falls. Hyperblade rises. Arian returns. Abaddon becomes the second prime above all. Zephyr dies. And Nick becomes the prime above all. The story ultimately becomes a tragedy about a character who reaches absolute power after losing everything that made that power matter. And that is Big Fat Man LXN-PAIN.